let's go ahead and jump in here a little bit. So, if you're just joining us one more time, I guess go ahead and mute yourself, and that way, if you have any questions, you can just unmute and jump right in and interrupt us and ask whatever questions you have. However, we will have question and answer time at the end, so you're welcome to hold them to the end, or if you want to just jump right in. If we're on a certain slide, we've got a question, just go ahead. Let's see here. Things out there. Okay, I think we're good. Uh, so my name's Levi Richards. I work for Kalmbach Feeds as a regional sales manager, and then also, I guess, the program director of Formula of Champion Show Feeds, and just kind of oversee, anything that's going on within the brand, new products, help with marketing, and kind of tie together marketing, sales, and nutrition teams. We've got an outstanding team at Kalmbach Feeds. We're based out of Upper Sandusky, Ohio. And we're just really excited with where this program is going and where it's headed. We've been really fortunate and blessed to feed a lot of champions here along the way in about every species. And we love that you guys have jumped on here with us tonight and given us a little bit of your time. Hopefully you find it valuable, and I think we've got a real treat lined up for you guys. Let's go ahead. Give me a second to share my screen here with you guys, and I would like to introduce our guest speakers and a couple of really good friends of mine. Here we go. So the first one is Jackson Johnson. Jackson's one of our show pig specialists. He's from Warren, Indiana. He went to Lincoln Land Community College and transferred to Purdue to study ag economics with a concentration in sales and marketing. He operates JJ Genetics with his wife, Kaylin, dad, and grandpa. They run 25 Duroc, Hampshire, and crossbred sows and compete at the state and national level. My good friend Jackson Johnson here with us. The next one is, let's make sure my screen's going to work. There we go. Mr. Tim Trattles, somebody I've known for a long time, and purchased some really cool steers and some great picks from over the years. Tim is one of our show feed specialists from Burr Oak, Michigan. He attended Lakeland College and Michigan State University, where he judged livestock and earned his bachelor's degree in animal science. He and his wife Nicole and sons Colin and Nathan have a sow herd of 40 head and have been very successful raising and selling show pigs throughout the Midwest. They also run a small herd of shorthorn and crossbred cattle and raised many state and national champions of both species throughout the years. Good friend of mine, Mr. Tim Trattles. So I'm excited to have you guys. You can go ahead and say hi, or make sure you give me a thumbs up that you're on here. You can hear me? You good? All right, cool. So let's see, we got more people jumping in. So, what we want to do tonight is talk a little bit of show pig selection. We'll talk about some nutrition and how to do a concept we like to call feeding the phenotype. So let's jump in here a little bit. And I want to talk about market hog selection. And I'm going to start with Tim Trattles. Tim, I mean, this is the picture that's been, first of all, the one on the left, been in 4-H books since probably longer than I've been born. I don't know about you. You're a little bit older than me, but this picture's been around for a long time. But, I think certain aspects of it still hold true today. The pigs just look a little different than when they drew this picture. So go ahead and just describe what we're looking for in these pigs.
Okay, so I think after watching your and Andrew Sloan's sheep and goat selection deal last week, I think Andy brought up a good point. When you're starting to go look for your 4-H projects, one of the keys is to work with a breeder that you're comfortable with and can develop a relationship with.
Yeah.
We have several sales throughout the year, and I always get someone that calls and says, hey, when are you selling a January pig or February pig? What age pigs are you selling in this sale or that sale? I think you need to work with your breeders because these pigs are slower and slower growing. It's more of when is your show and what age pig from you do I need to feed to target that show. I know dealing with Jackson with his Duroc genetics, they're faster growing than a crossbred. So if you're going to buy a pig from me and buy a pig from Jackson on a pure side, they're going to be way different aged. So So I think getting the proper size pig for your show and what your goal is the key. Because no matter if you have the best pig in the world, if he's too little or too big for where you're going, we're off the wrong start right off the bat. So the big thing is always structure. Start with feet and legs. Again, the pig that can take the greatest picture in the world, if he can't move or she can't move, it doesn't matter. So feet and legs got to be square coming and going, square in their chest, square in their knee. And then when they go away from you in their hock, have some set to that hind leg and be able to reach and drive. And we keep talking about pigs being athletes. So being able to get out and go and have some pace and move. If you look at this picture of this pig from several years ago, one thing that this pig is that we wouldn't find in the ring today is low fronted. These things got to be tall shouldered, up headed, attractive from the side, and then have some bone. And then again, these are market hogs. So muscle is always king after structural correctness. So they got to have some muscle, but pigs do grow faster and gain more weight than every other species pretty much. So they will put muscle on and we can feed muscle in. But is if I'm going to select a gilt or a barrel for our boys to feed, the one things that I look is what can I correct with a feed bucket? I can't correct flat feet. I can't correct bow legs with a feed bucket, no matter how much we do. So if you got one that's built really good and really athletic that just needs a little more oomph, we can feed some muscle into them. We have those things, but we don't have a supplement that can fix bad feet or bad hind legs. So we can always take some muscle out of them. We can always put some muscle back in them. We can make them fatter. We can make them softer. We can do those things. But just remember, they got to be athletes. They got to be able to get up and go and travel. So, but the main thing these days is make sure you're getting a pig that's the appropriate size to start with. Not necessarily the appropriate age, but the appropriate size to start with the genetics you're going to be feeding to get to the end point and reach your goal.
Good. So, let's look at a couple of these pictures we have on the right. The one up top was their champion market hog at Upper Peninsula State Fair, which is such a cool show. I've been to that show, and it's a cool fair up there. But this is a Ricker pig that happened to win up there. I mean, just describe, I guess, the good things that you see about this market hog.
I mean, the things that come to mind on him is that he's burly. I mean, that looks like a big chested, big rib cage, big top, big hipped one. But yet, if you see how his hind leg's sitting there, he's got some curvature to his hind leg, and look at his front leg. He's got some set up to his pastern, and he's got that nice curve into his shoulder. Looks like a stout, powerful one that can get up and go.
Absolutely. Now, the one on the bottom, you can put a little personal touch to because you raised this pig. Champion market hog at MLE 19. Tell me about this one.
Looks like the best pig I've ever seen in my life. So no, that was a champion pig at MLE that the Littlefield sold or showed. Pig we sold in our sale for $400 or $450. One that is similar as that other one I just talked about. Great big rib cage, huge chested. This thing was a little crazy, but that's what made him unique. Is he was that powerful, but yet would get up and just almost run. That he was that athletic and that had that kind of hind leg. And then when he got out and went that fast, he was still square and true. He didn't want to swivel his hip and didn't want to rock or bow anything. He was just, when you get behind him, front legs, hind legs, everything was straightforward. So, and then all that rib cage and all that power and still have a little neat head on him made him unique.
Yeah, awesome pig. Now, I can remember, thinking of, I used to go to a few pig sales, when I was, say, a teenager. And this was before any experience whatsoever in the show pig world. But, I used to get excited about those ones that are real blown apart and the heaviest muscle baby pigs in the sale. But then my mind would be boggled because those ones wouldn't bring quite as much money. Why don't you want to buy maybe the heaviest, stoutest muscled, most extreme baby pig at the sale?
So muscle always sells. People are drawn to muscle. It's easy to measure the biggest butted one in the barn. There's no argument the biggest butt. But as those things mature, typically the heaviest muscled one or an extreme one will get to where they'll start to bow their hock and can't handle that much muscle and get too much. Now, again, that's where I say go back to your breeder and that you can trust and work with, because maybe that particular litter or that particular sow, you need to buy the burliest one in there because she doesn't get enough. So we had to breed it to the most powerful boar to get enough, and those things will get bigger and longer. So you got to work with the breeder, trust them, talk to them, see what they think genetically they would feed in that pen, and then use your own judgment. But typically, like this pig was a little skinnier and a little greener sale time. He wasn't our high seller. There was other ones that were more popular, but just had all the pieces. So again, if you're starting feet and legs, build and balance, we can feed the rest and then target them to get them there at the right time.
Awesome. Good. I appreciate you going through that. Uh, Jackson, let's get you on here and talk about a little bit of breeding gilt selection and what you see that's still significant here today from this picture from probably the early 80s or late 70s.
I mean, Tim nailed a lot of things that I would probably, touch on. But from a market gilt setting to a breeding gilt setting, I tell you what, this picture from almost, I'm going to say when Tim was born, this roomy middle here. I mean, we don't say that anymore, right? We talk about their rib cage and being, just bold in terms of their cage and have some just maternal look in terms of their flank and their heart and full rib still. And like that would be the biggest difference for me in terms of a market hog to a gilt, and a market hog to a gilt. And also, we talk about, it says literally long neck. And it's funny because I know I've told Tim this before, but long necks equal big checks. Those long necked gilts are honestly just more feminine in their kind. They're more maternal in their look. And when you get a long fronted, deep bodied one from the side that still, is tall fronted and can go, those are some things that I definitely look for in my breeding gilts. And, when I'm showing or judging, those are the kind that I'm going to put on feed. And those are the kind that we're going to stick to. And those are things that aren't going to go out of style. One thing that Tim mentioned was feet and legs, big on feet and legs, right? And even some judges will will say, hey, structure is even more important in gilts. Even if it's the first priority in market hogs, it's like a priority and a half on those gilts. And because they got to be able to go from one end of the pen to the other when they're sows. So just make sure that, all those feet and legs and toes are square and go north and south and not east and west. Those are, honestly, just really cut and dry things when you're selecting your breeding gilts and what I look for and when I'm exhibiting them.
Yeah, that's a great description. Now, let's kind of parlay that into this top picture that you're in here. I believe this is, tell us about this gilt at NJSA.
Yeah, so that was actually the third overall Division I gilt at Louisville. We got that from Brett Goff, and he actually works with us too. And that Yorkshire gilt, if you notice, like the bend to her front shoulder, and if you even correlate that back to the picture, curvature to their knee, I always call it an inverted C, like a banana. You got to have that front shoulder kind of like a banana. That gilt's big bladed, big bodied, has some, depth to her rib cage and still has a set to her hind leg. That's a bendy hind leg. We really like that gilt. We ended up selling her there at the open show. But with that being said, those are the kind that we put on feed. That's a big stage kind of a gilt. That's a big green gilt that can get out and go and have some, elite pieces. And that's the kind that we like to get pictures with in, right, Levi?
Yeah, absolutely. It's, it's funny that you talk about that banana shape to the front of the leg, because I was actually talking about, is it within a fitting demonstration here not too long ago, talking about that banana on the front of a show heifer, and I think, the more you think about it, you can correlate all these things that we're looking for, both in breeding pieces and in market animals. You can correlate them into about every species. Structural correctness and those things are always going to be there, no matter what species you're talking about. So I'm glad you said that. It kind of rings a bell, and we can put it into a breeding doe. We can put it into a commercial ewe. So I like that you said that. Tell me about this gilt on the bottom. I didn't realize the top one was from Brett Goff, because this one on the bottom is from Brett Goff too. We're dang well advertising for the guy. So,
yeah, no kidding. That guy's got a big goofy smile on his face too.
Yeah.
But no, this is one that Brett raised too. She was reserve grand at Indiana, and honestly, if you just she's probably an uncooperative pig, but that's a really big rib cage, right? And that's a really stout Yorkshire female head. She's one of those that those guys in the open show can really tie to for, sows on down the road. But, her kind of rib shape and honestly maternal look from the side and the way her blade is set in her knee, like those are things you definitely need to look for in your breeding gilts and how to describe them.
Great. Yeah. Good deal. Now let's go into some feeding methods. And, there's some cattle pictures in here, but I think, all of these we can kind of relate to about any species. But these are three different methods I want to talk about real quickly. There's self-feeding, certainly one you can apply to the show pig world. That's, one where you have a big, full feeder that you can keep full all the time and people can come and go as they please. In the middle, you see full feeding. That would be if you have a big trough, they can come a couple times a day and eat together. And we probably don't see that one quite as much in the show pig world. I think if we're going to feed them in groups, we feed them in a self feeder. Somebody's doing some scribbling there. I don't know what that's about, but keep drawing me pictures. I guess that's cool. You'd think my 1-year-old sitting on my lap here or something. But I think if you really want to be competitive, there's some more. If you really want to be competitive, you probably need to do what's on the right-hand side, and that's hand feeding. That's where we're feeding each one individually, because then we can really do what we like to call feeding the phenotype. And we're going to discuss that here some more, and hopefully there's not a whole lot more scribble so we can see those slides. Let's see. Well, we may go through this thing with the scribbles, but it's all right. So here, let's talk feed the phenotype. This is kind of a little phrase that we've coined at Formula Champions. This is reading the physical build of the animal. The phenotype is how it's built. It's how you can describe the animal. And choosing feeds that accentuate their good attributes and correcting their use these two pictures of these gilts, the probably pretty old-fashioned Hampshire gilt on the left compared to the white gilt on the right, just entirely different types and kinds and builds. And we'll get into a little bit more discussion here in a second on what exactly we would do to feed those phenotypes. But that's exactly what we're going to do. To be able to choose the right product, we're going to have to read the build of the pig because, within our line, there's several different protein levels and fat levels and things like that to work through. That's how we're going to know what to choose, to be able to pick the right product. Let's keep moving here. So this is our 2021 product guide. If you do not have one yet, get with your closest Kalmbach dealer and they'll be able to hook you up with that. We work a lot or put a lot of time into putting these books together. They are full of product information. We're pretty proud of them. And it's just a great way to get the information, on top of going to formulachampions.com. Tim, I'm going to point to you here while I maybe see if there's something I can do about the scribbles. But tell us about what Lifeguard is and what it does for our show line.
So Lifeguard is, well, to back up a little bit. So a few years ago when we took out all the medications and most of the pig feeds and all livestock feeds without a VFD, we made the decision of rather than using some low grade medications that weren't maybe as proven, we decided to go the more all natural route and developed Lifeguard, which is our prebiotic probiotic pack with essential oils and then organic trace minerals. And what we're doing is trying to do an all natural gut health and keeping those things, their gut working properly, keeping their stools good. And we've done research on our own swine farms and seems like we've got this dialed in without running medications through our feed to keep those things on feed and keeping their stools right. And again, if we're treating them as athletes, if you're going to go play a basketball game tonight and your stomach didn't feel good, how well would you perform? But if you're processing food and you're feeling better and you're feeling good, you're probably going to perform and act better within the ring. So we found we've got better performance this way. And I don't mean necessarily performance in terms of growth, performance in general. Attitude, stools, showing, staying on feed, coming home from shows and staying on feed. A lot of our feed, I know there's people at shows and their feed won't, or the pigs won't eat, so they'll come through and get hey, let me try some of that Kalmbach feed. And for whatever reason, without the medication in it, pigs seem to thrive on our feed and get them to work. Even if they're feeding the competitor's feed, they will go to our feed. So Lifeguard, that's kind of long and over kill of it, but prebiotics, probiotics, essential oils to keep natural gut health and keeping those things on feed.
Yeah, I love how you describe that because I think there's so much of a competitive advantage to our products before you even get into protein and fat levels and looking at lysine. The backbone of the entire line, is light years ahead of some of our competitors because of things like Lifeguard and what we're doing, to just ensure that that maximum gut health is achieved in the Formula Champions line. So I really do like the way you describe that. We go into the first couple pages of this book, and this is literally a screenshot right out of that book. And we kind of highlight another one of our teammates, Mr. Brian Forrest, who's done a lot for us and been a great resource. But, some of these other products, maybe on the left-hand side, relate to the breeder's end. And that's, I think, a whole nother Zoom meeting is things that apply to the breeders. I think tonight we're talking about feeding the market hogs and kind of the project end of it. But, I think we've got some great complete options there for our pro sow gestation and pro sow lactation. There's also a 100-pound premix, to be able to make your own sow diets there with. If either of you want to add anything to that? I mean, I know both of you sell a lot of these products. Just great to have a good, complete, economical version with those two complete feeds, right? Yeah. All right. Cool. On the right hand side, I guess, Tim, would you kind of do me a favor here and let's talk about these three premixes. We sell a lot of these, and they're just made a little bit differently. The first one applies to a younger size and age of pig. Go ahead and jump into those for me.
Yeah, so double barrel, we've used this year for the first time. It's been around for just a year or two now. A couple of my customers got on it. So it's a 400-pound inclusion. You can use it shortly after being on starter. So you get those pigs weaned off and use our calm starter. A lot of people are going to use this from 30 to 70 pounds. So the nice thing about it is you get the bloom and you get some muscle and you get some shape, but we're not just necessarily have to pound the fat to them to get them there. There's some more whey and lactose in there for just some natural bloom and not just putting a bunch of extra fat in them to get them chubby up front. So keeps them crisp and keeps their top shape good. So if you're not raising pigs that don't necessarily fit, then next to the 200 FOC, I'm a big fan of. We'll feed most of our pigs this summer. We'll use 200 FOC. It's pretty much the base mix that comes right out of our show feeds. You can have it mixed at your local mill or mix it at home with a grinder mixer. A little more economical mix. Probably not going to get maybe as consistent a grind mix. The advantage with Kallenbach we're testing for vomitoxin. Particle size is going to be very similar, very consistent, always coming out of one plant for us. You can get this made at your local mill. Probably save a couple bucks a bag. It works very well. And you can customize that to exactly what you want. If you want to put some extra oats or some extra barley or some extra fat or less fat, you can change that to whatever you need. The same with the 2400. It's got a few more bells and whistles added into it already with the oats and some soy hulls. But again, you can customize that to you want. It's just it's a 400-pound inclusion because it has some of that fiber already added in. But both products work very, very well. You can get them made local or make them at home and maybe a little more economical. Just get them made locally than what our bag products would be.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned, about the toxin because when, late fall getting into winter, we sure realized that there were a little more toxins out there. So we did, just to give you some reassurance, we did increase the level of binders in all of our complete feeds. So that is a good, kind of a good advantage to using some of the complete show pig feed that we're going to talk about here on this next slide. This would be the smooth design line. So yeah, so I guess before we get into, the 20 through 14 products, Jackson, tell us about Pig Popper 2.0. When we came out with that one, I think it was maybe a little over a year ago, we relaunched it as Pig Popper 2.0, as an update to the original Pig Popper. But tell us about this product and how you use it.
I mean, I think it's a bag of feed that you kind of need at your barn at all times in case you need to give one a little extra bloom, a little extra pop. It's literally in the name, Pig Popper 2.0, right? So, it's a very high protein, high fat, high lysine product that comes in a meal form and also mini pellet. I prefer to feed the meal, just something that, you can always increase your muscle shape and add some extra chub, especially over their forerib and on the top side of their skeleton. I think Pig Popper ultimately is a product you can just have one bag in there and give it, maybe 1 pound per feeding or a half a pound per feeding, and mix it in and blend it in with any smooth design line product to kind of meet a desired flavor, I guess. So that's how I would go about using it. And that's how I am approaching this year in particular. That and some 200 FOC, because Tim and I talk enough on the phone. Those are some things that we do in our barns.
Yeah. We talk about two different application times. We use it early on for a sale prep, and then you can use it almost like a supplement later on. So, yeah, I'm glad you kind of covered both of those. Now, Tim, when you go to, kind of pick, we've got all these options, and, some people look at this and they almost get overwhelmed and confused, but, we've got 14, 16, 17, 18, 20. How do you go and pick the right feed for that pig?
So early on, I think the good thing is what I like to do when we have our pigs and we take them off a 20% double barrel and we have our pigs situated off, I like to just let them chill out, just mellow out. I don't want our pigs to look their absolute best 130 days from their show. I want them to look their best on show day. And even if we go to a jackpot and we get beat, that's fine, because our goal is not to win a jackpot show. Our goal is to win whichever show we're going to, county fair, MLE, wherever it would be. So I like to drop the protein back. I like to put a lot of our customers go on the 17 meal, just as a nice steady base. When you drop them from 20 to a 17, you're going to lose a little muscle shape, which is fine because it makes it a little easier on their joints. Just let them chill out, be pigs, kind of slow grow them a little bit, and then give them a month or so, and then reevaluate from there. And then we feed again the phenotype. What does that pig need? Do we need to go up? Do we need to go down? Where do we need to make that pig its best at its destination? Now, if you're going to jackpot a pig and you want to go out the first weekend of May and your goal is to win every jackpot show, then you may stay on an 18 or maybe even a 20 and keep a little more hard shape and a little more look if your goal is to win that first jackpot show. Typically, the pig that wins the first jackpot show isn't going to win the state fair. It does happen. There are those pigs that are that good. But I like to, as a general rule, just bring them home, drop them back to 16, 17, 18, whatever you're comfortable feeding, put all your pigs on that feed, and just let them all just kind of be baseline, especially if you're gathering them up from several different breeders, and then evaluate them a few weeks later and say, okay, this pig needs more muscle. This pig has too much muscle. Where do we need to go? Where do we need to go from there? For baseline, I like to go home, put them on a 17 meal, give them a few weeks, and then figure out what we have.
Awesome. Yeah. Now, Jackson, you were kind of big helping me push to get this new Smooth Design 20 out. Why were you so adamant about having a 20%? How's it apply kind of at home for you?
So literally, Tim kind of took the words right out of my mouth, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
We got Smooth Design 17 sitting in the barn. Sitting in the barn, and I'm feeding, and everything's just kind of chilling. Well, magically enough, we have a landrace sparrow in the barn, and he's going to need some more muscle here because he's starting to plane out a little bit. I'm going to put some 20 into that 17 and make it a harder, crisper, probably almost a 19, and blend it in with the 17, and probably go to 2-to-1 ratio and make that blend that together, or feed it straight and give him some more shape, because I'm not saying we're going to go out and win the first jackpot, but if we do go to a jackpot, I want them to be presentable. I want to be, I want to catch a pin, we want to be in the hunt, and, I guess I'm willing to sacrifice, here, going to sacrifice some muscle now and start adding a 20 here very soon to get that hog to shaping back up and look right. I mean, when we get deeper into the summer and those red hogs or Berkshires or, even, my landrace sparrow needs some crisper shape, Smooth Design 20 is going to be the way that we're going to go in terms of just burning some excess fat off, giving some crisper, harder shape up high, because, Tim knows it best. It takes a big back to win a big show, and those 20 and a pig popper is going to be able to do it. And those are the two in the line. I think the 20 was honestly just a very well, makes the whole lineup more well-rounded. And I'm definitely pushing the 20 here, and gonna probably start using it here within the next week, especially on my show picks.
Yeah. Good. Now,
One thing I would add to that, Levi, is I agree with all that. But one thing to add was, now that Paline is becoming not outlawed, but not used at shows, we used to be able to just chill these things out, and then we could go to the whip and put a little Paline in there, and man, we could swell them up real quick like. So now that we can't use Paline at a lot of these shows anymore, we probably need to do what Jackson said and go to that 20 a little quicker, or maybe even use some hard drive to put some shape back in them quicker, because we're not going to get it naturally as fast as we could with paling. Paling, we could get it 2-3 weeks, maybe in a week. Feeding just straight soybean meal or protein those ways, it's going to take probably twice as long, if not longer. So it's one of those things. It's always good to maybe start just a little bit early and then just chill, than to say, man, if we had one more week, I think that thing would have been incredible. You don't want to do that. So I'd rather be a few days early than a week too late. So that's one thing to keep in mind with paling, not being able to fed at some of these shows. I think we still mellow them out and get them there, but maybe 45 days out instead of 3 weeks out, we need to be thinking about putting some shape back in them and starting to make a man again.
You got it. Now, I like that neither of you have mentioned this product, and it's a perfect segue because I can explain why I want this product, you know, and why I like this product and why I sell a lot of this product. I go to so many farms during the summer. You know, we Combach Feeds sales reps. We like to get on the farms. We like to see pigs. I go to so many farms where I feel like they've got almost too much muscle, you know, like they're a little bit too extreme. You know, these county fair pigs, we've got enough muscle put into them. Tell me why Smooth Design 14 is so relevant and why it certainly has its place. Either one of you.
I mean, just from a muscle standpoint, I mean, you need to be able to relax those hogs in May and June so that they relax in terms of their skeleton. You know, we talk about athletes and bendy hind legs and ones that can run around the ring and all that kind of jazz. Well, if you've started out with a project that has way too much muscle, we've got to be able to almost take the muscle out of them and put them on a Smooth Design 14 and be able to actually utilize every joint in their body more effectively. And they will actually do that on a Smooth Design 14, or even a step lower in just like a sow feed. But honestly, in other competitors' products that kind of represent sow feeds in general, you don't really need to go that low. You can really take it out of them with a 14 and allow that skeleton to get underneath themselves so that they're more comfortable in the ring. Tim, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Is
Honestly,
Levi gone?
Honestly, I think Levi's froze.
Levi's gone.
Where's
Our
his scribbles?
leader. Oh boy. Oh, he's officially gone. Is everyone else still there? Jamie, can you hear us? Okay, good. At least we got the crowd. We didn't lose anything. We lost Levi. Oh, there he comes back.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. We're back
Yeah,
at it.
jeez.
Oh boy, good old technology. If it's gonna hurt anybody, it's always me.
We rock, paper, scissors for the host when you left.
Well, people assume I'm good at technology because I look like a nerd. It's just not the case. All
You
right,
do
let's
look like
get
a nerd.
back. Right. All right. So, I heard you talk about Smooth Design 14. Tim, tell me real quickly, if you haven't already, tell me about Winter's Fulfill.
So Winterful's Fill is a unique product in terms of holding a pig that let's say we're at 3 weeks out or a month out, and we need to hold him. A lot of times when we're holding one, they've overachieved and they'd be a little fat and chubby, so we need to burn them down. Well, Winter's Fulfill is for those pigs that are right where they need to be. And all you need to do is buy time and steal some days. So you feed 3 pounds a day of this, you get 1 pound to gain, but you don't lose any flesh or muscle. You just maintain where you are, and you're just going to slow those things down. And you can do it for a week, 10 days, and then go back to feeding a little bit, and then a week, 10 days. But you're not going to, if you call me and say, my pig's perfect, but I overshot the runway and I need to steal some days, and we got 3 weeks to go, but I don't want to get him any skinnier. I don't want to get him any fatter. If you feed 3 pounds of this a day for a week, you're only going to gain 1 pound a day. And then maybe you feed him for 4 or 5 days and you go back to this. So it's a way to hold on without changing their physical appearance, and it works very, very well. Now, don't feed 4 pounds because he's a little hungry, because they'll gain like crazy, because you can see it's 11% fat. So a lot of people say, how are we going to hold them on high energy? Well, we're limiting, they're only getting half of the normal feed they're getting. So we have the fat in there to keep that extra flesh and bloom. It's got the higher lysine, got higher fiber to keep them full. and higher protein. So it literally, you can hold a pig for a week without changing their physical appearance. They might get a little cranky because they're hungry, but that's the best way to maintain and hold one that you think you got dialed in.
You got it. More nutrient dense, lower inclusion rate, that
Yep.
kind of concept. So great. We get into supplements here, and I'm going to dismiss a few of these right off the bat. Show and Glow, Filler Up, and Hair Magic Plus are really high selling, really good performing supplements that don't maybe apply so much to the show pig. Show and Glow is great for, it is great for skin and hair. We could probably use it there. But I think we've got so many other components already built into these complete feeds. We probably don't need to use Show and Glow on a pig, unless there's a specific need for it. Filler Up is a high fiber top dress we use more in ruminants, just to help give them more rib shape and drop their flank and things like that. However, it's based on alfalfa meal, and I'll tell you, a pig doesn't like to eat alfalfa meal a whole lot. The last one's Hair Magic Plus, and while I am hearing rumors of maybe some hair growth supplements on pigs, which still boggles my mind today, I think this one applies again a little bit more to the cattle and sheep and goats, more so than the pigs. So I guess, Tim, tell me about using afterburner and hard drive on these pigs.
So afterburner is one that, like I said, if we had one that was overachieving, or one that's just a little too chubby and we need to burn some front end out of one, or one that's really fat and kind of shapeless, it is a high protein. It's 43% protein. So it is hot. It will burn some shape in one. It'll burn some front out of one. Now you got to use with caution. You got to use it slowly, because as we add protein and we add some muscle, there are going to be some restrictions in structure. And no, I mean, it's just not possible to add muscle and not affect structure, to a certain extent. If it's a fat, light muscle pig, then it may not have any effect on structure. But if you got one that's pretty close and you feed this for a week, and he's got the genetic potential to put some muscle in it, he will add a lot of muscle pretty quick because it's high protein, high lysine. This is a product to help burn down, shape them up, maybe use as a holding product or a toning product. But it's the hottest product we have, and it'll do a change in a week, 10 days, real quick. Hard drive is the safer one of the two, or I should say it's more of a toning deal. You just want to say, like Jackson's scenario where you have the 17 meal in the barn and he has that landrace sparrow, he wants to tone up a little bit, but he doesn't want to have 2 complete feeds in the barn. You could take and add 4 ounces of this to his feed to just spike the protein and the lysine a little bit to shape one up. And I have a lot of customers that do that. It works very well. It takes a little longer to see those results. But again, you'll get the results you want. Just don't expect it in 5 days. It's going to take a couple weeks and you can start. But the nice thing is, if you do it slowly, you're not going to overshoot the runway. You know what I mean? You're not calling me and say, put him on hard drive, give him 4 ounces morning and night, and call me back 5 days later and says, this thing's so tight he can't walk. So it'll take a couple weeks to see and get you where you want to get, but it'll do, as it says, you'll get some more expression, you'll firm them up, you'll give them a little more mass, a little more shape, and it works very, very well. We use it here quite a bit.
Yeah, the funny thing is we originally came out with Afterburn and Hard Drive with, the intentions of really pushing them on the sheep and goats, and they've been really successful there. And I don't know that they were played with a whole lot in the pig world until we didn't have Paline to mess with. So, they've got some similar effects, maybe not to the extremity of Paline, but they do help us in those same ways. So, Jackson, I'm going to point to you here to talk our 2 fat supplements. Would you tell us about Power Bloom and Moonshine?
Yeah, just a real quick on Moonshine. Honestly, I have a lot of people that do a lot of grinding mixing of their own that like the Moonshine a lot. It has a very distinct smell and flavor, and honestly, hugs kind of like cherry. I mean, I have a lot of people that really like the cherry. Just kind of depends what you like and what you feed. But also the Power Bloom is probably the fat supplement that I would go to the most, just as a dry fat supplement that you can add in. Just like Tim said on the hard drive, add that slowly, add that over time, because if you actually start early with that, I mean, not right this second, right? But maybe in May, you send Levi a message on Facebook on our Formula Champions line, and you say, hey, what can I do with this pig? And then Tim's like, well, or Levi sends it to Tim, and then Tim's like, hey, maybe it's a little too crispy. We need to start it on some Power Bloom. If you started 2 ounces to 4 ounces a day on that, I mean, you're dusting the bottom of the cup, and that'll over time make that back even bigger and start to fill in the ham-loin junction, filling right behind their blade and their heart and forerib, make those hogs blend and just honestly give them a better presence in the ring.
Got it. Yeah, that's perfect. And the pigs just they love the flavor of it, and when you're slopping one, this is a great way to just keep them going at it and almost addicting them to their feed just a little bit. Now, Tim, I should have maybe pointed out you were kind of one of the founders, the people behind the start of Moonshine when we wanted to come out with it. Was there anything else you wanted to add to that?
No, I think he kind of hit it nail on the head. I mean, it works very well to add to complete feeds. If we're going to supplement, I like the Power Bloom better. It's a little easier. You can overdo Moonshine pretty quick, and it is. I mean, it's 98% fat. It's straight oil. So a little too much can upset the gut real quick and get them loose. So I like that to put in complete feeds, mixed in on the farm or at a local mill. Knocks the dust down, gives it a good smell and good aroma. And then if you're going to just supplement home, Power Bloom, and Jackson nailed it. That stuff works really good. It's easier to mix in a little. Yep.
Perfect. All right, let's kind of see, applying these feeds. Let's look at I've got 3 different pigs pictured here, way different types and kinds. Jackson, I'm going to point to you on this gilt. I think that was your turn, right?
No, that was Tim. Tim wanted this one.
Oh, Tim's talking to gilt. I'm sorry.
Tim wanted this one.
Tim, how are you feeding this one?
I still see the supplements. There we go. So gilt, very nice gilt here. Good looking, shapely. This is one I would have like on our 17 meal, and just feed her nice and slow. Doesn't need a lot of anything really. I mean, she has plenty of shape. If anything, we'd mellow her out just a tick, depending on what we're doing. If we want to go win a show next weekend, she's probably ready to go do that. If we're waiting another 3 months and we're waiting to go to our county fair or MLE, I would just let her mellow out a little bit and make sure she doesn't get any extra muscle or too much muscle, because she's got plenty of shape. You can see that ditch right down her back. I still got a good hind leg and good looking up front. So I think that one's pretty easy to feed. Looks like good feet and legs in good shape. Just kind of let her mellow and just kind of feed her slow and just kind of let her be. Yep.
Yeah, that was a stop forget we fed a couple years ago. She was pretty sweet. I think we ended up having her on a 16 for a while. So yeah, what you're saying is exactly right. Let's hopefully it doesn't take too long to switch here. We're gonna point to a barrow next. Hopefully you can see the barrow. Jackson?
Yeah, I was supposed to get the barrow, and honestly, if you just look at this pig, I think this hog is actually just an interesting feeding ingredients, right? Like this is a different kind of hog. Like he still has shape on the top side of his skeleton, and if you actually study this one's hip and hind leg, that's a big hip and stifle. Like that hog has muscle. That hog does not lack any muscle. His forearm is big. He's got a big enough rear leg. But what's really concerning for me is that one's neck. That one's a little shorter fronted. Comes with a little bit of extra condition right at his jowl. And if you look at it, study his forerib, he could probably use peeled back just a touch. I mean, honestly, that's a hog you could probably have on 18, because he's going to get more muscle with a smooth design 20 or a pig popper. If you keep him on an 18 and then maybe supplement some afterburner, and then you could maybe peel that neck off a little bit and have that hog show ready, honestly, about every day. So that hog has plenty of chub in himself that you don't really have to mess with a lot, but you got to get that neck peeled off probably and put that hog on some afterburner would be my recommendation.
Perfect. Yeah. Now let's go. We've got a really plain, light muscled, common pig. We're probably pulling off of a lot here. There's some of these out here that are going to county fairs. There's a handful of these at county fairs every year at every county fair. So, I've seen them. I'm sure both of you guys judge enough shows and enough county fairs. You've probably seen them in multiple forms here. But, what do you do going about feeding just a kind of plain featured, lighter muscled one like this gilt?
So it becomes a little more challenging, but we can do some stuff by actually adding some fat. The power.
Who's getting this one, Tim?
Yep. Can you hear me?
He's on it, Levi.
Yeah.
You're interrupting me. So we could do some stuff here. I would actually, little plainer muscle, so we just need to bulk her up, right? So I would just keep on whatever base feed her on, if it's 17 or 18, add a couple 2-4 ounces of Power Bloom and 2-4 ounces of hard drive, and just let's supplement some muscle, supplement some fat, and let's just see if we can build some muscle on top of that one. Like, let's maximize what she's got. Probably not going to get a ton, but I think that's our only option at this point, is to try to build some counterfeit shape and muscle by putting some fat and some muscle all into one on one like that. That would be my recommendation. Because I think if we just go protein, you're just going to have a skinny pig. And if we go just fat, we're going to have a fat common pig. So we got to put fat and protein into that to try to build kind of a fake counterfeit back and shape and some muscle into that one. But that would be
pig popper on this one, or would you?
Yeah, and a pound of pig popper would be right along the same deal. We like to use pig popper as a supplement, half pound morning, half pound at night. So you're getting the same thing. You're getting some, you're getting the extra protein, you're getting the extra fat, you're getting the amino acids that are in that baby pig feed that are highly absorbable. So that would help get a response also. Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. All right, well, that's good. I think that gets us through this segment. I do want to just mention before we get to question and answer, we've got an awesome website, and it's full of some really cool resourceful tools. The first one I want to point out, on the bottom right-hand corner, you're going to see a little purple rectangle that says feeding recommendations. We believe in feeding the phenotype. We don't want to say you've got a 175-pound pig, you should be on X feed. We want to read that pig. We want to see what it looks like. So we built a feature in that you can upload pictures and videos of your pigs, send them to us. And, if it's not something that I can answer, I use Jackson, Tim. We've got Brian Forrest. We got Brady Littlefield. We got Jim Heckel. We've got several people within the company that are really good resources here at our disposal that, I'll run pictures and videos by these guys, sometimes, multiples, and see what's the best option for us. You can get more details on all of these products. You can check out our winners. You can buy apparel. You can, go through some of the rewards programs. Speaking of which, the first one's the Champions Challenge. That would be our jacket program. If you win a local show or a county fair, you're eligible for a silver level jacket, which is more like a light, fall or spring jacket. It's actually the one you see here. And then then if you win a state or national level show, you're eligible for a gold level jacket, which is a really nice heavy duty winter coat. Really cool. The other program, I don't think I have a slide on. It would be the cutout squares that are on the back. You can redeem money for your 4-H club, your FFA chapter, any junior livestock organization, or actually now you can turn them in to get a credit to buy apparel on our website. So that's another feature available. So now it is time for you guys, if you've got any questions or answers. However, I've got a couple myself that I want to ask you guys that just didn't fit into the right slide. So I want to ask each one of you. Yeah. So, we saw on that smooth design slide, there's a lot of options for meals or pellets. Do you have a personal preference? What do you think the difference makes? Tell me what you think. Jackson.
It literally depends what you want to do. What does your breeder recommend? What do the people that are around you that are actually helping you with your everyday project recommend and like? Like Smooth Design 20, it's only offered in a pellet. Smooth Design 17 is only a meal. It just depends what you want to do. And I think every other one is offered in both, if I'm not mistaken. But it just depends what you want to do and where you're at. Like as a breeder, for me, I recommend a meal to all my customers. But also if, I'm talking to someone in a different region of the world, they're straight pellets. So like I said, it just depends. I would ask your breeder. I would coordinate with them, coordinate with whoever is helping you feed, whether it be the neighbor, whether it be mom and dad, whether it be, grandpa and grandma. Depending on what they like and what they're comfortable with is what I would do.
Perfect. Yeah. All right. Next question I got. Tim, we talked about holding a pig with that winner's fulfill. What if we're behind on weight? We've got to really push one. Do you have a secret recipe, or, you're going to lay heavier protein, heavier fat? What do you got there?
So depending on the pig, again, there isn't a perfect answer, but in general, if we got to grow, again, it don't matter what the phenotype is because we got to make weight more likely, right? Power Bloom, 2 to 4 ounces per feeding, depending on how desperate we are, and a pound of that pig popper. Those are the options without paling. Those are a good growth additive. But they'll get addicted to that power bloom. It's high energy, so that turns into gain. And same with pig popper. They like it. It's got some protein. It's got some fat. It's got the baby pig amino acid profile in there, so it converts really well. But those would be my two to add in to get some extra growth to make weight for sure.
Yeah. Good. All right. My last one, I'll go back to Jackson. We offer that Smooth Design 18 with a dewormer in it. So you can feed that for 10 days and have your pigs dewormed right when you get them. What do you go from there? What's your deworming schedule, between when you get them and, say your target show, your fair, your state fair, whatever your end goal is? What are you doing to deworm?
I'm probably the wrong one to ask on this because I actually use a wormer every day. I just think it keeps their gut right. I think it keeps everything right. And actually, there's a 0-day withdrawal on it. So I think it keeps everything right. I think their gut health stays right. I think you don't even have to worry about, giving a shot once a month. If you don't do that, I would totally recommend once a month. Just set it on your calendar. Set it as a day on your iPhone. Get your Dectomax out, and I would totally use an injectable because actually, if you do both, it should actually cover more of a broad range spectrum. Of vaccination and feed should cover both. So that's why I kind of maybe be the wrong one to ask, but you can do both ways. I do recommend, you could feed an 18 with dewormer all the way and feed half 18 dewormer and half Smooth Design 16 or pig popper, and then they always kind of got some in it. Is it the full amount? Probably not, but they always have something in their diet at all times. So, and Tim might totally disagree with me. So that's why I'm going to open the floor to Tim, and then he can tell me how wrong I am.
So what we recommend, we don't necessarily recommend feed it for the entire life of the pig. But we do, what I like to tell people is give them, all of our pigs get a shot of Ivomec for when we move them to the nursery to chip. So they've had one shot. But I always tell people go 30 days back from your show and they need treated, and then go back 60 days, go back 90 days. What I like to do is have that first shot or the first treatment to be Ivomec because it's cold now. Those pigs are home. There's a chance we picked up some lice or mites or something in the straw that maybe bedded in initially. So hit them with that to clean that out. And then those the 30 days and 60 days out to use the safeguard for two reasons. They're a little bigger. We don't want to give them a shot and upset them or make them ornery or give a knot in their neck. So it's easier to give that big pig the safeguard and a smaller pig a shot. So plus you're coming out of the straw. So that's the way we like to do it. Is give a shot Ivomec or Dectomax and then do safeguard those last 2 rounds unless we get some kind of skin irritation along the ways. But yeah, I would agree with Jackson for the most part, just not every day.
Yeah, I guess that's never been a topic between Jackson and I. I've never heard him talk about that before, so I'm glad I asked. All right, so that's all the questions I have. What questions do you as listeners have? Even if it's not show pig related, what questions do you have for us about Formula Champions or any kind of pigs in general? You probably have to unmute yourself. I muted a bunch of you here at the beginning, so if you've got a question, check.
Not everybody at once.
Right.
Oh, Jamie's got a question. Here she comes.
Yeah, let's see it. I've got one more. If nobody's going to jump in, I do have one more. Give me just your best regular skin and hair work, your protocol.
First of all, I don't know if Tim needs to be discussing this because he's slightly bald. Okay. So, but
that's the reason I'm wearing a hat tonight. All right.
But Tim, I'm totally going to give you the floor on this one.
So skin and hair, big thing on these baby pigs is when you get home, get the brush out, start brushing on them. And then from there, it depends on what color kind of pig we got. We got a black pig, we need to get it in the sun. We got a white pig, probably want to keep it out of the sun. There's a wide range of oils and lotions out there. White pigs, we like to use a white lotion on them. These darker pigs, we like to use like a Champion Choice or like a liquid oil or a spray. Get those things in the sun and darkened up. Can never start too early or on that. You can always start too late, but good skin and hair, especially at the county fair level, makes a huge difference. Jackson's judging a lot of shows these days. And I know if you drive one in the ring to him that's got good skin and hair, that'll get his attention first and foremost. A well-showed pig with skin and hair will get you a pin real quick, faster than anything else. So even if your pig's not the best, it's going to tell that the kids put the time in and the work in. You're going to get the benefit of the doubt. So skin and hair and showmanship goes a long ways, especially at the county fair level.
I mean, shiny pigs win pig shows. So, I mean, I'm using a lot of metaphors here and a lot of quick little sayings, but I'm just telling you, it just happens, okay? I mean, for like just real cheap and economic stuff, you can go to Dollar General and get some cocoa butter and slap on those things every day, no matter what color they are. You can go get baby oil from Dollar General and squirt it in a big bottle and spray on it. I mean, those are the cheapest routes you can totally go. I mean, Champion's Choice is the best product. I think that that product's really, really good. And but just from a economic standpoint, I know that I went through a lot of those, a lot of bottles of baby oil. You know, just keep things very simple, but you've got to have your skin and hair right, or else you don't get a look. I'm just being honest.
You got it. Absolutely. So, anybody else think of any other questions they have for us? All right, as we start wrapping up, and feel free to.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Here we go.
Oh. Wow.
Here we go. All right, I'll read it out here for us.
Here.
Let's see. This is my first year showing market in carcass hogs, so this information's been helpful. How do I request the Formula of Champions show feed book? Great question. So you can get on formulaofchampions.com or combachfeeds.com and look for a dealer locator. Find the dealer that's closest to you, and you can ask them to request books through their sales rep. Or if you're struggling to do that, feel free, on that feeding recommendations part of our website, feel free to just, put in your name and address into that little spot there, and I'll make sure we have somebody from our office send one directly to you in the mail. Great question. So as we wrap up, feel free to type something else out or just shout out here to us. We appreciate your time tonight. I'm really confident in these products. I've used some of these products myself in the very few pigs that we've shown here at home, but we've had great success at all levels and all over the place, from New York down to Florida and everywhere in between. We're proud of the products we've got, and we sure are happy and excited to see what they bring to us this year for success. Let us know how we can help you. We like to be as hands-on as we can, and really like taking care of our customers. So any of you guys have anything else to add to it?
Thank you for your time. Thank you for jumping on, and thanks for listening to two baboons speak and me. So, ooh, there we go. There we go. I knew it. Kept it one more time. Depends on what your hog. I would start out with the 16. That's a very safe option.
Yep, 16. Yep.
Perfect.
Ooh, maybe.
Still typing.
I know. Send another one. We're ready. Yes.
And if you need to build muscle, do you bump up to the 20%?
Yes.
I'm going to read them. Yeah, I'm reading them since, if you play this back later, it's going to go on YouTube here in a few days. So when it's played on YouTube, you won't be able to see the chat box. So question is, if we need to build muscle, do we bump up to a 20%? And you said yes. Yep. Perfect. How long should you work them daily? Tim.
Question.
Yeah, good question. So you're going to start out slow. First thing is to get them out of the barn. That should just be, you got to keep it as non-stressful as possible for both the kids, the adults, and the pigs. Because because they're probably not just going to go for a good walk. But once you get them broke to go to the barn, we like to get them in a routine. And I would work them up to, depending on the pig. And we like to drive our pigs. Now, you're not just walking them. We are taking them like we are showing them, right? So how long does it take to show your pig at the fair? How long does it take to show through a division? And how long does it take to show for champion drive? Your pig's got to be able to do that if you want to win the show. So if that's 30 minutes, then you better be able to drive that pig for 30 minutes. What we'll do for our boys that are 11 and 13, and when they're even younger, we'll even set up some cones out there, and I'll tell them to go to cone 1, cone 2, do figure eights, do different deals, and be able to drive those pigs in different forms just to keep it from being just boring and working them. And then we take them on long walks, and then we go to our backyard and we do short walks like we're in the show arena back and forth. It's easy taking for a long walk away and then come back. But in the show arena, we're short distances back and forth. So I would build them up to where you could drive them like you're in the show arena for a minimum of 30 minutes. But it's going to take most of the summer to get there.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, down there at our show barn, my wife and my sister-in-law got the pigs out the other day. It's like 65 degrees, right? All the pigs did was root around in the dirt. Okay. All they did was root around. I mean, it's a very slow process that starts now. I mean, they spent more time on Snapchat than what they did actually with the pigs. Okay. So like, you got to ease into it, have fun with it, and make sure that it's a good experience for everyone, because that's the last thing you need is, dad throwing a bucket halfway across the barn lot because a pig didn't get their head up.
Got it. Yeah, and Tim, you brought up another important point, talking about taking those pigs out for a long walk, a long distance, and turn around and bringing them back. Another reason we probably don't want to do that is a lot of times when they turn around to come back, they're going to go a heck of a lot faster and maybe want to take off running, which we don't want to see them do. So, yeah, glad you said that. Another question from Logan Smith. Hey, I know Logan Smith. She shows cattle. She's fed some Formula Champions before. What do you do to keep their head up when you're driving them?
So same deal. Another thing that's not going to just happen overnight. Some are more natural than others. But that is probably the last thing we work on. And once we get those pigs broke to drive and we're doing what we're going to do, we like to work on keeping their heads up when they're going back to the barn. Like Levi just said, they want to go back to the barn, and it doesn't do you any good to work their head up if they're not going forward, because nothing's worse than a pig standing forward with his head down, right? Fighting you. So that pig has got to be broke to drive and get out and go before we can worry about getting their head up. I see more people that work on getting their head up and the pig heads up, but the pig's not moving forward, doing us no good. So the last thing we work on is getting their heads up. The first thing we do is got to get them out, get them going, get them in a routine, and then slowly work on getting their head up as we're going back to the barn. And then after we get that kind of broke in, then we can start doing it more in our routine when we're out there for that 20, 30 minutes of actually driving them.
I mean, I would also tell you, I mean, it's not a quick process, but you got to make sure you're doing it now. I mean, you train your puppy to be potty trained before they're a year old. Like, you better, if you start, the earlier you start working with them, the easier it is towards the end of the duration. And, you can't just say, oh, it's a week before the fair, I need to get their head up. Like, you need to make sure you're working with them before 2 days before the fair.
You got it. Absolutely. So I see the one last question I see, will there be another Zoom? I think we are working to continue doing these. Usually this year we're just full of in-person clinics, and we are starting to do a few of those, but we still wanted to be able to reach out and Zoom, even though we're limited to what we can do in person. So we had a sheep and goat one last week. It was great, big turnout. That one is posted to our YouTube channel, Formula of Champions. This one will be posted to YouTube channel by the end of the week. I am working on securing a date here in the next couple weeks for a show steer and show heifer Zoom meeting. So that one will be good. We've got a lot of great resources. Just finding the right one that can meet with us and talk about those products. So with no further ado, I guess, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. That's the end of our questions. And if you have any other questions, you can reach out to us on the website, or you can message us on the Formula Champions Facebook page. You guys have a great night. Thanks a lot.